Thank you, everyone, for being here. Welcome to our discussion. We are talking about data transparency and retail innovations. I am in conversation with Mark Bozek and Diane Palmquist, and we're hitting all the hot topics, all the trending buzzwords, data, content, commerce, all the things. And we will have time at the end for questions, so be thinking of anything you'd want to ask, because we'd love to hear from you. I'm Abby Kalicka. I'm fashion content consultant. I'm coming to you with a career. I started actually as a fashion editor in magazines when magazines were the ultimate destination for content. I went on to work as fashion director for Bloomingdale's, and most recently I'm consulting for creative content at Amazon Fashion, as well as Hearst Digital Media, so that's Elle, Harper's Bazaar, Marie Claire, Cosmo, and yes, my career has been a mashup of content and commerce. And to my left, we have Mark Bozek, whose career was at the helm of HSN, Evine Live, and QVC. And Mark definitely was an innovator, if you think about it, one of the first to bring shopping right into people's homes. I think Mark is the only person here today who has been played in a movie by Bradley Cooper. It was the 2015 movie Joy with Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper. Mark discovered Joy Mangano.
Mangano, yes.
Okay, thank you. And Miracle Mops.
And huggable hangers.
And
huggable hangers.
And huggable hangers. And I think that's quite cool. And Mark's latest venture is Live Rocket, which is a super innovative concept where commerce and content intersect, and we're going to get into that more. And Mark is also producer and director of The Times of Bill Cunningham, which we have talked about, and hits theaters February 14th. And we have Diane Palmquist, who is Chief Product Officer of Stibo Systems. And Stibo, we're going to get more into that as well, but Stibo is the mastermind in data management and transparency, empowering retailers and brands around the globe. So I'm going to say, first, let's start. Why don't you both tell us a little bit about what each of your companies do, your current companies.
So, thank you, Abby. As you said, Stibo Systems does master data management and focusing on transparency of brands and retailers around the world. And what that means is that we are the behind-the-scenes company who is capturing all of the data about all of the fashion and brands that you wear, and we are bringing that out to the retail sector. So in the video that you just watched where the woman is looking at the pair of jeans, for example, how do you know when you're looking at a pair of jeans where it was made, how many gallons of water it took to make it, what the CO2 footprint is, if there was any child labor involved, where the cotton came from, et cetera. All of that data can be tracked through our system and brought through the retailers so that you know what you're buying.
And can I ask you, Diane, to share an example, if you're able to, specifically with a brand that Stibo has worked with to provide data and ultimately affect sales?
I'm not sure which brands I'm allowed to mention.
Okay.
So, yeah, I need some marketing help from the back. So we work with, I can say that we work with a lot of brands around the world and a lot of the retail channels. So the retail
Just
channels,
give their initials. Can you just give their initials? No?
Okay, I'll give the initials for one of them. Just the initials are GAP.
Okay.
Okay.
But we work with a lot of big brands and small brands to bring data all the way from suppliers, because most brands, unlike some of the brands you've heard from today, most big brands don't manufacture their own items, but they are very concerned and they care a lot about where they come from and what the pedigree is of those of all of the brands that they sell. So you don't want to get caught like Apple did a few years ago, finding out that they're using child labor, for example. That's not only damaging for a brand, it does not align with the corporate values. And people are very concerned about aligning their brands to their corporate values and being able to track that all the way to source.
Thank you. And we'll switch over to Mark. Will
Sure.
you talk about
You know,
Live Rocket?
I think the combination, frankly, of this is it's interesting when you talk about data and you understand it. And years ago, when everyone said you have to invest in digital, nobody in the retail world understood what that was. They just knew that they had to invest in it, and everybody west of the Mississippi, Silicon Valley, was investing in it. And they really didn't know what it is. I think it's certainly matured now, where many more people in retail and commerce understand what digital is. And I think that from a consumer perspective, and certainly from what our goals are with Live Rocket, is this ability to, instead of it just being a great digital website that occasionally does a pop-up store, that how do you consistently do something? That's why I called the company Live Rocket. That's why it was Evine Live. I'm obsessed with this notion of impulse and of live, that if you could create that experience live in the environment and then translate that on a global basis and use the technology that you gain from doing all of that, both on the supply side of things, supply chain, as well as on the consumer itself. And I think that Gen Z and millennials, they want to interact. There just isn't a place for them to go and do that interaction that's worth it, right? And I think when people have talks and they have all these incredible things, the woman who was talking earlier about mothers and traveling around, we're going to do that in Live Rocket and have a theater in there, and that's going to get broadcast all over the world. And brands that we launch, all these exclusive brands, look, Lovejoy or not, or Wolfgang Puck. I mean, we did $150 million of selling Wolfgang Puck cookware because that was the only place you could buy it at HSN. Joy Mangano sold bazillion huggable hangers because that was the only place you could get it. And the minute what digital has created and Amazon has created is that the minute you're able to search a product that you know is going to be available elsewhere, you take away impulse. You lose that customer so rapidly, and that's why TV shopping is one of the reasons why they're so challenged, and it's why a lot of these luxury digital companies that exist, they're all selling the same thing, and they're trying to do different things, and they're trying to create that sort of scalability. But I'm obsessed, and I have been forever, and that's why I'm excited about doing this, to have this live environment where you can sort of sleep on a single bed in the back room, and every morning you wake up and turn the lights on, and it's like showtime, and you kind of make it up as you start to go.
So ultimately, we're all trying to connect with consumers, right? To reach consumers, to engage consumers, and drive sales. So how do we do that? How would you say we effectively get through? What's like the number one?
So I think the number one way to reach consumers is really to offer what the consumers want. And consumers in today's world, based on a lot of what Mark just said, have not only a lot of choice, but a lot of different methods of getting to the brands that they want. And it's all different methods. It's not only shopping online, it's having different kinds of experiences online. It's going to different channels to find where you want to buy something, connect either through celebrities or through somebody you trust, or a cause that you trust to buy things. And we work with a shoe manufacturer, for example, who sells many different types of athletic shoes through many different channels that I won't get into. But one of the interesting things is, if you are in different cultures, the products that those shoes are made out of makes a huge difference. So some cultures cannot have cow leather, some cultures cannot have any pig leather, some cultures cannot have any leather at all. If I'm the consumer, I'm going to find ways to connect with that brand so that I have choice in the market today. I don't need to special order anything. I just need to find the channels to buy the things that I want to buy. And the brands have to be available in those channels in order to connect with the consumers.
And Mark, would you agree with that? Do you think, what would you say is the
Sure.
number one way to connect with consumers?
It's a bit redundant, and it's certainly not original, but think local, act global. right? I think that's an incredible statement and something that you have to live by, and that's the notion of Live Rocket. You know, you can discover something in Shinjuku or something in the flea markets in Paris, and it was never available to you. We want to have that instantly available to you, so that if you're in Paris, and Live Rocket Paris, and Live Rocket Tokyo, and Live Rocket China, and Live Rocket New York, and Live Rocket LA, they're all connected together. And that impulsive way of finding cool things, none of it you need. It's all the stuff that you want, right? You know, all this selling of things and this. We're not Amazon. You go to Amazon for stuff that you need. You certainly don't go there, well, you go to Amazon for things that you need. Let's just say that. But it is the notion of connecting on a global basis. We tried to do that. We tried to schlep Wolfgang Puck over to Tokyo, cost $25,000, get him on the air for 2 hours, figure out how to get the product from Asia to Japan. But that was then. Nowadays, it's all figured out for you. And the launching of these brands that you see now every day that are dropping. And Ruth Carter, who just announced something yesterday, who's this incredible costume designer for Spike Lee, who's won all these Academy Awards, is launching Ruthless on H&M. And it's because, but TV shopping was the first place. That's where it kind of originated. And now that you have access to all this data that you can think local and act global, I think that's a tremendous asset to how to leverage that, that technology.
And Mark, would you say, how essential would you say content and experience is in driving sales? Not just engaging, but actually in converting.
Yeah, content, right? What the hell is content? So,
what is content?
I know.
Tell us.
It's so broad.
It's everything.
It's respectfully like, what's an agency these days, right? What's a branding agency? Are they a marketing agency? Are they a branding agency? Or they a social media agency? Now that they have to evolve, just like magazines, just like the TV space has to evolve. I think content is really, look, there were some forms of content in live TV shopping. That's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of so-called content. It might not be the kind that you like, but it was content. And I think what you have now in the advertising world, and it's sort of the unique model of what Live Rocket is going to be, is we're going to make money from selling exclusive product, just like a store would, but we're also going to make money from advertisers because we're going to create pop culture content that's going to have its place via podcasts, via live shows from our live retail studio in New York and eventually throughout the world. And if you connect all of them, and then you make revenue from the advertisers who are dying for this kind of experience and this kind of that kind of a thing that you get people excited about. And I can't remember, did I say that today? But you know, the last time there was something exciting going on in retail was the Abercrombie & Fitch when they stand outside and there was lines around the block. That just, you know, other than when Supreme or Gloss or somebody drops something, that's pretty much the only time you really get that.
I think just to add on to that a little bit, the point of content nowadays, it is absolutely ubiquitous and there's so much of it, but it is available to be personalized. And I know that as a consumer, I'm definitely not Gen Z, but my kids are. As a consumer, I care about content, I consume content, but it needs to be very personalized to me. And companies are very, very good about being able to personalize content for you, whether it's the brand itself or the retailer. And I can consume that in ways that I like to consume that. So it's very interesting, I think, how content can be tailored. And of course, all of that content can be tailored because of the data that's behind the scenes, the data that you know about your consumers, the data that you have about your brands. So I'm sure it's a little bit different to hear from a company like mine, which we don't produce any fashion brands, but we power all the fashion brands because of the content that we are storing behind the scenes.
Can I just use an example? So when Rihanna launched Fenty last April and took over the Barclays Center and created this insane extravaganza that Amazon paid a lot of money for to stream, not even live, but just have Amazon have it on Amazon Prime and get a percentage of the sales, but she used her social media influence and all of her data that she had, particularly via Instagram. She has a bazillion sort of followers, and never mind Victoria's Secret and all the drama that's associated with that. But she did something that created excitement in a ways that was instantaneously successful. It's not a $4 billion company yet, like Victoria's Secret is, but it's going to be. And what she's doing with LVMH, I think, is going to be. But I think behind all that noise are people like your company who are sort of the support staff for really enabling them to grow at a much more scalable kind of way than just having a great customer count or just having this or just having that and all those kind of Sand Hill Road baloney
That's
metrics.
exactly right. Thank you.
Baloney metrics
Yes.
on Sand Hill Road. Can I say that again?
Yes.
Baloney metrics on Sand Hill Road.
Okay, I'm gonna pose another question. So, data obviously is a huge trend right now, and it's proven to help us in making business decisions and in driving sales. We know it's valuable. On the flip side, if we're in this world now of making all these decisions based on data and marketing initiatives like begin in the early stages. Often now we're looking at data, and buyers are choosing the merchandise to put in the stores based on data. Does intuition and artistic license and that gut instinct that Bill Cunningham had to just grab his camera and capture the moment, does that still matter? What's the balance? Is there a balance?
So, yes, I think there's definitely a balance. There's fewer and fewer shows going on next week when New York Fashion Week goes on, and some of them are showing here, some are showing in LA, some are showing in Europe, etc. But they spend a fortune still, $2, $3 million, $4 million on a show for the 0.5% of fashion editors that are left. Then you throw in the other 0.5% of fashion influencers that go to these shows, and then we're all there on Instagram. They're doing it on Instagram, and then we're turning it around and we're watching it on Instagram. But that creativity still is incredibly important. It cannot just be an algorithm. If that was the case, private label in the department stores would never have existed. It would only have existed. It would have just been private label because those were done based on trends or based on what sold before. It certainly wasn't based on any form of true creativity that Ray Kawakubo would have or Michael Kors or Anna Sui or something like that. It has to, it's the nature of our business, of that. If you lose the creativity and it just becomes an algorithm, then go to Amazon. That's why Amazon can't do fashion well yet, but they will. They can't, but they will. Apple can't do programming yet, but they will. And they have, a long runway to figure out. But I think if you lose the creativity and not just creative algorithms, yes, have respect for technology. Yes, have it. Embrace it. But boy, if you lose the creativity, then you lose the sort of drive to, what is the heart of not just fashion, but beauty and makeup or skincare, et cetera.
Very much agree with that. What I would like to add is the other problem of that nowadays is the opposite, that there's too much data. There's so much data to sort through. So if I'm a manufacturer of let's say a jacket, I might have over 2,000 attributes that I store about that jacket. Which of those are important to which consumers, and how do I know that? And in the end, we do make decisions based on emotions and creativity and the art form. So if I want to buy a vegan leather jacket, which I have several, by the way, if I want to buy a vegan leather jacket, I don't want to buy every vegan leather jacket. What are the other unknown criteria that
What is vegan leather? I should know that, but I
It's,
don't. I have no idea.
It's
Synthetic.
vegan animals. No,
Right.
it isn't. It's not real leather.
Does JAP use those?
I don't know,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's
Stella
not real leather.
McCartney.
Oh, Stella McCarthy.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's a good question. See, these are more attributes I could store.
I understand.
It's not
Okay.
real leather. Yeah.
Okay.
No animal product.
No
Okay,
animals
got it.
were harmed in the making of my vegan leather jackets.
Okay.
Well, okay, I'm not here to be pro or con vegan leather jackets. I just do happen to own.
Sorry, I started a whole
So
thing
thank
here.
you for
Sorry.
Thank you. For,
Get back to
This
your
is-
data.
This
Get
no,
back
but
to your
you know
data.
why
Sorry.
this is important. This is exactly why I am saying consumers care about what they care about. And I can't know what a consumer is going to care about. The consumer knows what they're going to care about. And there's pros and cons of every single thing. So it's not like you have good attributes or you have bad attributes. I've certainly some of them I could definitely argue. But they are just what the consumer wants. And who the social influences are make a big difference. Sometimes if it's somebody I don't like, I'm not going to buy anything they're associated with, versus the flip side. And I just want to point out that although data powers all of this and is very helpful and we can help make decisions, you cannot take out the creative side, because that is ultimately what swings the balance, I think.
Can I give you a good example of that?
Great to hear that. Thank you. Yeah.
Perfect example of that. And I'm only going to my past again, but Suzanne Summers, God bless Suzanne.
Sure.
We built her business doing like a $140 million business, and it wasn't just the Thigh Master. It was pajamas
I'm glad we
and
don't have any on
jewelry
stage.
and pajamas and jewelry and everything you can possibly imagine. And I thought, okay, we're going to do the same thing to Susan Lucci. She's just as popular, Erica Kane. We're going to make her into a big star. So I got her to leave QVC, like I got Joy to leave QVC and come down to HSN. And we sat around and said, okay, let's do all the same kind of thing. But we put her on television and tried to loosen her up a little bit, and she wouldn't do it. Suzanne would go on there and say, oh, I just had cancer, and I just sprayed it with a little bit of something, and now it's gone, and I have sex 5 times a day, and blah, 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 blah. But she had that thing, right? She had that ability to connect with the consumer that you can't have with data. There's these great guys named Josh and Brent who I launched on Yvonne Live called Beekman 1802. And now they're on QVC and HSN. It's a $170 million business 3 years later. They're 2 guys that are married, live in Sharon Spring, New York, got fired from their jobs, bought a goat farm, created goat's milk-based product in bath and body and skincare. And they go on the air with these baby goats and tell an incredible story, totally connect social media-wise and totally connect on television like nobody's business. So it's not just data. It's not just somebody who's super talented. They've been trying to find the new Joy Mangano for a million years. 7th Avenue's been looking for the next Calvin Klein or Michael Kors for a long time, and there's a few that are in there, but there's a lot more even known ones that are kind of going by the wayside. So it's not a silver bullet in terms of that, understanding that.
Thank you. I have to be aware of the time, and I do want to give the opportunity for a couple questions. I just want to wrap up with asking, we have to do it quickly, bold predictions for the future, including the Oscars. But what do you think? And you know, in an industry that has truly been turned upside down, what does it look like in 5 years and 10 years from now?
So I can take that quickly, and I will be quick. So we are working with many brands, and we think that the future really is transparency, that it's coming all the way from tracking, all the way from the source. So just like when you go to maybe a local salad shop here in New York, you see every single ingredient listed on a blackboard and exactly which farm it came from. Those are the types of things that I want to know as a consumer when I'm buying a jacket or a pair of jeans or anything. I'd like to know how it was made, and we see more and more of that trend happening.
Looking as it relates to the Oscars, I look forward to next year's Oscars when my film will win the Best Oscar for Best Documentary.
Yes. Well done.
Looking way past that, never mind Parasite was a good movie.
Not to mention the People's Choice Awards.
The People's Choice Awards, etc.
All the things.
But I think the most exciting part, if you look past the next 5 years, is what we don't know yet, right? I've got Live Rocket 50% figured out, right? Enough to be smart, enough to get investors, enough to like get us a lease and get us going. The other 50% we have not even thought of yet.
So
but that's to me why it's wildly exciting to do that. You just have to surround yourself with the right kind of people who believe that, and investors who believe that.
Thank you, everyone, so much.
And by the way, no cards. If you have a card, keep it. If you want to reach me on LinkedIn, like you can reach Sandra Campos on LinkedIn or anybody else. But if you have a card, don't give me your card. I'd love to stay in touch with you. After the movie comes out on the 14th, I'm available on LinkedIn, and also follow the film on Instagram. But cards are very last year. And so you need to move on and connect with people via LinkedIn, especially this on the business side of things. So stop printing cards. Sorry if somebody's here is in the printing business, but way it goes.
That's a good point. We have to be innovators.
If you need a date for the Oscars, I'm available.
I'm sorry?
If you need a date for the Oscars, I'm available.
Will you wear your vegan
same.
leather jacket?
I will.
Thank you, everyone.